what I wanted to do was just start off by telling you about my worst memory associated with forensics. So the year was 1999, and myself and three other interpreters, including Anne-Marie Darrow, now Baines, and Adrian Lim, are all in San Diego competing in state championships, right? We were the first year, it was the first year that El Cerrito High School had ever had an interp team, and there were only three of us. And all three of us had qualified for state finals to compete. And I'm at state championships. And the most amazing part of that experience was that all three of us, Anne Marie, Adrian, and myself, made the finals in our respective events. And so you go to finals, you're happy, you're excited, you're nervous. And this is the culmination for a lot of people, especially for individuals who are competing that may only do state qual events like oratorical interp, original prose and poetry, those types of things. And so this is our swan song, our Super Bowl, because there is no nationals. So we compete, we're in the finals, we're supporting each other, and then it comes time for awards. And Adrian goes up, and Marie goes up, and uh-oh, we have to leave because we have to catch our flight. You won't be able to participate in the award ceremony. Now, mind you, I have, if this is a pre-COVID reality, I've spent quite a few Saturdays and Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. carpooling to and from many locations in the Bay Area. I've spent many an evening after school in rooms and classrooms and offices practicing up against walls. And here it is, I won't actually be able to celebrate what is, for me, a culmination. So I'm, excuse my language, I'm pissed. So we get in the van and I am livid. Everybody knows that I'm upset. I can't believe this. This doesn't make sense. Why would you have the flight be at this time? Why did they take so long? No, it's not good enough. No, I don't want to be placated. I don't want to be comforted. I want to be frustrated and mad. And I am that way for the remainder of the trip. I am very unpleasant to be around. So, and they do this one thing where they have the pilot announce my position. I won third place in the state that year in oratorical interp, and the pilot announces it on the plane as some solace for me, and it doesn't. It only further infuriates me. And I look back at that moment as one of the most painful moments in my experience, but it was very context specific. When I take into consideration that moment in light of the 2 and 3 years building really great relationships with now one of the facilitators at the El Cerrito speech and debate team, Anne-Marie Baines, and also our former teammate, Adrian Lynn, our coach, Jonathan Bender, and the relationships that we got to build with each other, the intimacy that was developed, the closeness, the understanding, all of that in light of that moment, it placed a lot of things in perspective for me. And as I matured and got older, I came to realize that forensics, both the interp side and me doing Lincoln Douglas debate, were all compulsory activities for who I was to become and who I am right now. A lot of times we think that, oh, I'm kind of average, right? I'll give you a scenario. Like when I did Lincoln Douglas debate, I was a 4-4 debater. I wasn't anything to write home about. I didn't do anything stupendous. I didn't come up with any awesome arguments. I was kind of middle of the road. And you can see yourself as slightly ordinary, right? When you're competing with folks who really have this style, this experience, this know-how, and when you're stepping into it and you feel like it doesn't come as naturally to you, or you practice and it still doesn't feel like you're excelling, you kind of consider yourself slightly ordinary. But I just want to remind you that this activity is a compulsory for who and what you will become in the future. I can tell you that as I currently work for the City of Richmond, and I am responsible for 2 grants that are going to total well over $16 million. And there are other opportunities that have come my way. Being able to fund youth serving organizations, community serving organizations. And I will tell you this ordinary debater who wasn't anything to write home about, who came up with no great ideas or concepts, no novel theories or systems for approaching argumentation, right, within Lincoln Douglas debate, because of the practice and dedication that I had, I can tell you this: on my worst day, I am the best speaker in the room. When I walk into meetings, I am the most prepared in the room. Even when I don't have time to prepare adequately or as much as I like to, because of the activity of waking up, knowing that you have to go and present an argument, knowing that you have to go and deliver a speech, it places you and it teaches you how to focus. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to be critical. I'll tell you this, and then I'll maybe slightly wrap it up. One of the things I used to do before I would give my speech, my oratorical interpret speech, is I would kind of psych myself up, right? And these were the 2 things that I would tell myself, is that my speech was on the value of cities. And I would tell myself, Pat, cities are important. Cities are great. You live in a city, right? And then I would tell myself, if you've got to say this because people won't recognize the value of the cities. Now, that's not the point. The point is that I believe there are 2 things that make somebody a great speaker. Outside of, you need to be prepared, you need to know your information, and you need to know your audience, right? Those basics of public speaking. There are 2 things that I think make someone effective at public speaking. One is believing that what you have to say is important. The second thing that you need to do is tell yourself that if you don't say it, no one will know it. So those were the 2 principles that I was activating at 16, 17, and 18. And I realized that that's what made me effective, is that I believed what I had to say was important. And that if I didn't open up my mouth and say it, no one would know it. Now, there is a style that is public speaking and forensics in high school. And I know it from the hands gestures, right? I get it. We did all of that. But I want to let you know that if you can convince yourself and adopt those 2 principles and psych yourself up with this, that what I have to say is important, whatever your topic is, whatever your speech is, whatever your argument is, convince yourself when you're facing that wall or you're in your room or you're preparing, psych yourself up and convince yourself that what you have to say is important. And 2, convince yourself that if you won't say it, no one will know it. And if you long-term can work and weave those principles into who you will become, you don't have to worry about judgment. You don't have to worry about being nervous. You don't have to worry about what you have on, because even when you're nervous, if I'm convinced that what I have to say is important, it pushes me past. Even if I'm shaking, if I believe that if I don't say what I have to say, no one will know it, you recognize the value. What is the essence of what it is that I'm doing? And that is communicating thought, valuable thought. It's just not talking. And so as you all are embarking, some of you for the very first time, I just want to encourage you that you all are going to build some wonderful skills. And I applaud you for your success in forensics in high school, but I just want to remind you that this is a compulsory for who you will become in the future, right? Future parents, future leaders, future decision makers, future authors, future doctors, future politicians, future government workers, future scientists, right? You are being equipped. And sometimes it's so uncomfortable, this process, but I want to let you know, you're going to be better for it. So I'm going to stop there and just want to thank you for providing some time. Hopefully, I've shared something. Those two nuggets really revolutionized me in public speaking. And I feel like the success that I had was because I really onboarded those things and made them very personal. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Such good, useful tips. Even for those of us that are not competing today, but just still adults figuring out who we might become next.
yes.
Um, that was very appreciated. Couple follow-ups I have. I kind of have some questions for you.
Yes.
So you talked about this moment, right? This unpleasant moment where you didn't get a chance to celebrate. This was your Super Bowl.
Yes.
Um, as full-grown Patrick, what would you say to your younger self?
You know,
It was unpleasant to be around and feeling, feeling like I didn't get to celebrate my moment, my
oh,
Super Bowl.
that's an awesome question, Diane. I like that. I wasn't anticipating that one. So I think that's a great question. I think just based off of my experience and opportunities that I've had to work with young people at this point, what I think I would tell them was number one, it's okay to feel how you feel, right? I want to validate the emotion because within the context, my response wasn't inappropriate, right? I wasn't disrespectful. I was angry, right? And that is a legit emotion, right? And so I think validation is important, right? And also I would probably, I don't know if I would begin by speaking. I think one of the few things that I'm working on right now is staying curious, right? A lot of times when situations happen, we we listen with the idea to speak, we listen with the perspective of, oh, that reminds me of, or we listen with, I know what I should tell them, or I know what I would do, versus listening for the point of actually ascertaining and understanding. So I would, number one, try to validate those feelings. Two, stay curious, right? Ask questions like, what's going on? If you would have got that opportunity, how would that have made you feel, right? Is there something that we can do, right? I would stay curious. And then I would probably try, given those two moments, I would just try to be present,
Mm,
right? I don't know that I would try to, in some way, allow a 16 or 17-year-old to have the perspective of a 40-year-old. I think I would say, I understand. I think I would have hugged the person, right?
mm,
I could feel the tears that I felt. I could feel that emotion. And I feel like if somebody would have just embraced me, I would have wept. And that might have been helpful,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I don't know if that gets there's no trick or gimmick to that response, but
yeah.
that's who Patrick is, and that would have been my response.
Yeah, that also makes me think, right? Like the feelings of anger are like that is a clue that you were invested in this.
Yes,
Like this meant something to you.
yes, yes.
So that is also important to name,
Oh yes.
right? Is that these moments that all of our students are doing today are meaningful and
Oh my
important.
goodness.
So that was the other, I think the other thing that came up for me. And what I'm curious about online
Yes,
of your curiosity is
yes,
like
yes.
what were your teammates doing around you as you were feeling this thing? Like where
They
and how, like
oh,
what role did they play around you?
they were all very comforting. They were all trying to be very supportive. And I think they gave me space just because they kind of understood, and they were like, "It's gonna be okay, right? You're still one of the best in the state. We all know that. They know that, right? It was they were offering me what they could, and I can say that the two people that were very supportive were the two people that were closest to me, which is Anne Marie Baines now and Adrienne Lynn, right? And Anne Marie gave me this huge card once we made it back home. That like in a few days, or maybe it was during graduation, she sent me this card which I still have from 1999. It's this jumbo card, and I feel like knowing that people had your back um, was very important. So That was critical because we were having conversations, right?
Yeah.
We were joined. Like there were there are teams that are more dominant, right, than other teams. There are schools that are more dominant, and we were this very tiny school with this brand new interp team, and so but we were all really good. We had all qualified for state. Anne-Marie eventually qualified for nationals. I think Adrian qualified. I was first alternate to nationals. We did good stuff. Um,
Um, yeah.
and but we also were like, hey, we're just as good at them as them, these more dominant schools. And we that honest that we had to improve joined us because we had this singular focus that our size, our lack of notoriety would not deter our motivation to become or be as good as we knew that we could. And so
Mhm.
we were supporting each other and being we were being critical and critiquing. And then, there's always a little trash talking and stuff like that. I was like, that wasn't even that
Sure.
good, right? But
Sure.
but it was an advantage. And I'll be honest with you, having a relationship with Anne-Marie from high school, I think I was a sophomore, she was junior, and she was freshman, and being able to still call on her or she call on me, it's worth it.
Yeah. So there's these nice moments of like a lifelong bond that you get as part of
You,
the team. So
you
that's
do.
also a lovely thing.
You do. And you don't, then stop me, Diana, because I'll keep
No, no,
going.
no, keep going,
You
keep going.
don't
I
even
have
need,
more questions for you, but
oh,
yes, keep going.
you don't even need a whole lot, right? So there were a lot of folks on the team, right? We had this very, very prominent, more prominent policy team, right? But I'm satisfied if the relationship I have with Anne Marie is that she can call me and ask for something, or I can call her and ask for something and deliver. And there's this trust that we have, right?
Yeah.
That you can only build over time. And so when I think about the opportunities that forensics provides, like it's that, right? You think that you are trying to beat the other team, but in the quest to quote conquer or beat another team, you are forging a depth or a quality relationship with the person next to you that you don't even know that is being fortified, right?
Hmm.
So, anyways,
Yeah. So to wrap up, here's my
yeah,
final question for you. So as we shared, we have a lot of first time competitors today,
yes.
part of this competition. And so my question for you is um, what advice or tips do you have for the first timers? Like what are the things, like what are going to be the things that give them the clues today about who they will become?
Okay, so I think those are different questions. So the advice that I have is be audacious, right? Um, go hard, right? Even if it's not perfect, right? Your today is not your forever. So it's okay to not be perfect right now. It's okay to mess up right now, right? As learners, oh my God, I feel tingles. As learners, that is one of the best positions you could ever be in because the expectation is that you are a learner. And when you seek advice, people are willing. Take advantage of the fact that you will have this position, right? And that you are a first timer, right? I'm telling you to go hard. And people might say stuff about that. People might laugh. But guess what? This is your first tournament. So we're not planning for today. We're planning for next year, right? When you go through a year of this and you might have summer camp and then you come out of summer camp and you still going hard a little bit, you're going to come out of this, right? And I would also say this, pay attention. Watch who does something that moves you, that you like, right? And try to figure out how to incorporate that stuff into what you do, right? This is an opportunity to try some stuff, to put on some stuff, to take off some stuff. But what I would encourage you to do is to not allow the nervousness, right? That feeling of uncertainty to grip you so that you hold back in this moment.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
Um, that's great. I love this is not this is for next year. This is
Yes.
longer term. So that is a great great thing to remember as the first timers, right? All of us were did something for the first time before we became pros. Everybody,
Absolutely.
you know, the most experienced championship people all had to do something for the first time, and all of you are doing that today. So that's great advice. Thank you so much for joining us and for your comments and your story and experience. Thank you for letting me probe you about that experience.
No worries.
And a couple things for our judges in the room. So for those of you that have are judging around at noon, your notices should already be up in tab room. And then Anne Marie or Morgan, is there any other announcements we have for judges and competitors before we move over to the next rounds of things for the afternoon? All right. Well, I think we're all good then. Um, well, thank you so much, Patrick. And thank you for joining us from a horse show. That looks like an amazing thing to do on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
And yeah, we will see you all in our afternoon rounds. I hope that that was inspiring, informative, and useful.
No, thank you. And hopefully I'll get to participate. I keep asking Anne Marie to help let me judge, but she doesn't do it. So y'all get on her for that.
We're going to lobby her for that for the next
Please.
one. Awesome.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick.